All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the scary version of Double-Edged Stories.
Thank you for
Yeah.
Settle in for a night of terror that you will never forget. So now, heading into the supernatural part of our show, our first storyteller is Stephen Michael Carr. And he is the Director of Development for Mattingly Edge, a local nonprofit that enables Louisvillians with disabilities to thrive at work, at home, and in relationships. His main interests are cooking, dinner parties, music, queer culture, and the idea of belonging, and most importantly, pickles. And I will do a quick plug. His organization's having a wonderful fundraiser tomorrow. You should talk to him about it. It's called TAG, and it's a great party. We're going to be there. So obviously you want to go. But anyway, see Stephen if you want to learn more about that. But right now, welcome to the stage, Stephen Michael Carr.
Howdy. So, I had a dream when I was 15 years old. And in this dream, I was in elementary school. I was going to Okolona Elementary in Okolona. Surprise. And in this dream, I'm in school, I'm in my classroom, and the overhead speaker comes on and it tells me that I'm supposed to be a car rider today, right? And this is a very weird thing because my cousin Laura was my babysitter whenever I was a kid, and she lived in the Markwell Court apartment complex, which was right behind Okolona Elementary, right? So usually whenever school was over, and my gaggle of friends, we would get together, we would walk out the back of the school, we would walk through the playground, and then we would be at the apartment complex, and we would just go our separate ways and go sit down, right? So the fact that I was a car rider was this really weird thing. So the bell rings, and I go out, and I am standing out waiting for, the car rider line, and the car pulls up, and it is my Uncle Pee-wee, which is my cousin Laura's dad. As a kid, I called him Peepaw, right? So I was like, oh my God, it's Peepaw, right? So he pulls up, and I walk up to the car, and he rolls down the window, and he's like, hey, Bubba, which was his name for me. And he said, hey, Bubba, get in the car. We've got places to go. And I look at him, and I say, Peepaw, what are you doing here? You've been dead for 8 years. And, I think something that is important to say about all of this is that he wasn't rotting. He wasn't a zombie, right? He wasn't a ghost. He just looked like himself. I just happened to know in my dream that he was dead, right? And so he says, well, we've got some stuff that I need to show you some things. Get in the car. And because, there wasn't some weird, ominous music going on in the background, it wasn't like creepy. There was nothing scary about this dream. There was nothing ominous about this dream. So I got in the car with my Peepaw, right? And we pull out of the school, and we go directly to the right, and we pull right into the Markwell Court apartment complex. And I'm like, well, why the hell did we get in the car? Why did we have to do that? We could have just walked, And we pull up into the parking spot, and we get out, and we walk through to the apartment building that he lived in whenever he was alive. And he, opens the door to his apartment, and we walk inside. And inside, sitting around the dining room table, is my grandfather, whose name is Dan, my great-grandmother, whose name is Lillian, and my great-aunt, his wife, whose name is Mary, who I always called Mimi. And all three of them had been dead for longer than he had been dead. And so they welcome me into this apartment, and I look at them and I say, all of you are dead. What are you doing here? Like, what is going on? And they say, Stephen, there is one day out of the year whenever the veil between the living and the dead is very thin, and we're able to poke through, and we're able to come visit the people that we want to come visit. And we chose to come visit you. And I'm just like, oh shit, what the fuck? Okay. So they sit me down at this dining room table, and they start asking me questions. And it's like, what's so interesting is that it's also mundane. They are asking me questions about, like, so are you seeing anybody? What are you learning in school? What's your favorite subject? Who are your friends? Do you have any plans for Christmas? All the things that, like, your aunt asks you at Thanksgiving that, you know, that you're always like, yeah, maybe, so what, whatever. But it was so strange because it was like, here are all my family members that I know are dead and have been dead for a very long time. And like I said, none of them are like rotting off the bone or anything, but they're asking me these questions and they want to know about my life. And so I'm talking to them. And then, so once I finally finish all of their questions, they ask, I get the opportunity to ask them questions. And I say, well, so, like, what's it like on the other side? Like, are there pearly gates? Is St. Peter there? Like, are there choirs of angels? What's going on? And they kind of stop me and they say, we can't answer any of those questions. We can't answer any of those questions. You have to see for yourself whenever you get there. And I think, you know, an important thing to pull from this is that what this dream that I had taught me was that even though they didn't tell me anything about the afterlife, they all seemed comfortable, they all seemed safe, they were fine, they weren't worried about anything. They just wanted to know about me and what I was doing. And so that kind of gave me some comfort that, like, whatever happens next, it's going to be okay, right? So I wake up from my dream, and I call my cousin Laura, who was my babysitter, who is Peepaw and Mimi's daughter, right? She's 17 years older than I am. I call her and I say, Laura, I had this really strange dream last night, and both of your parents were in it. And, you know, I had a dream that your dad picked me up from school, and I was in elementary school around the corner from your all's old apartment complex. She's real quiet. She doesn't say anything. And I'm telling her, you know, that, you know, I went into the apartment, and her grandmother and her mom and my grandfather were there. And we just sat and talked, and she's really quiet. She doesn't say anything. And I say, Laura, is everything okay? And she says, I had a dream last night. I had a dream last night that I got off work from Baptist East Hospital. I had a dream that my dad picked me up from work, and he took me back to the Markwell Court apartment complex, and those same people were there, and they told me that one day out of the year the veil is really thin, and they can pierce and they can visit the people that they want to visit, and they wanted to know how my life was. And so I'm here to tell you that I don't know if the afterlife is a thing, but I will tell you that my cousin and I had the same exact dream, except, you know, they picked me up from school and they picked her up from work, and they took us to the same place and they told us the same things. And so all of that to say that, you know, everyone thinks that October is the month whenever the veil is very thin and that the living and the dead can interact with one another. And I'm here to tell you that October is not it, according to my family. According to my family, it is a random Tuesday in May. Thank you.
Once again, Stephen Michael Carr. But really quick, like, I know we have to go for time, but when somebody who's close to me dies in my own life, I usually have like one dream about them where they feel like they're alive again. Am I the only one who's had that experience in this? If you've had that experience, can you raise your hand real quick? I mean, maybe you have more than one, but one where they're just like normal mom or normal grandma. We're just hanging out. And you know it's them somehow. It feels like them. I mean, I don't know it's them, but it feels like them. And Jerry Garcia. I'm not even kidding. My mom, my grandma, and Jerry Garcia are the three, like, visitations I've had. I wish that was a lie, but it's not.